The verdict was handed down quietly. Not in a courtroom, not at a public hearing, but in a white, antiseptic consulting room, where a physician folded his hands on a clean desk and delivered those 6 words with the practiced composure of someone who had pronounced them before. "You will never conceive naturally." The sentence settled into the room, the way a legal seal closes a case file, final, institutional, and beyond the reach of negotiation. For 6 years, this family had walked through the revolving doors of every fertility specialist their insurance would cover, and several it would not. They trusted clinicians whose names appeared on hospital merit plaques and conference panels. They paid procedure fees that depleted a savings account built across a decade of careful, deliberate work. They submitted to treatment protocols that reduced the most profound human longing, the longing for a child, to a sequence of injections at precisely calibrated hours, blood draws every 3rd morning, and calendar dates circled in clinical red. Each cycle ended the same way, a single printed sheet bearing a number that told a story no one in that family wanted to read. And each morning, before any of that machinery began again, she sat at the kitchen table with her rosary and her worn prayer card, and offered a novena to Saint Jude. And when the days allowed, she and her husband would make their way to the sanctuary of Saint Jude. Not with fanfare, not with public declarations, but with the quiet, stubborn consistency of someone who had decided that the only thing still within her authority was the act of asking. This is the record we are opening tonight. Not because the outcome was predictable, and not because the path was clean, but because buried inside those 6 years of clinical documentation, inside the lab requisitions, the failed cycle summaries, the referral letters marked urgent, there exists a parallel account that the attending specialists have never been able to explain. Not for want of trying. They were asked directly. They reviewed their own records. What the ledger shows is a sequence of events that no trained professional, in this case, could attribute to any known mechanism. And that absence of explanation is itself a form of evidence. If something in this account is already finding its way into a part of you that recognizes the weight being described, leave a word below. These files were never intended to be read in isolation. There is a particular quality to silence inside a fertility clinic waiting room on the morning of a results appointment. The chairs are upholstered in a forgettable neutral. The lighting is calibrated to be neither warm nor cold. The clock performs the same indifferent revolution it performed the first time you sat there, and the 9th and the 14th. Welcome to Miracle Ledger. I am Claire. Tonight, we unseal another documented account from the archives of the unexplained, and I want you to remain close to this one, because what this personal record reveals is not only a medical anomaly, it is a testament to what faith looks like after the document has been officially closed. She would sit in that waiting room, holding the number the receptionist handed her, and the prayer she had said at the kitchen table 3 hours earlier would still be sitting quietly behind her sternum. She had learned, somewhere around the 3rd year, to stop expecting the number to be different. She would look at it, fold the paper, and reach for the small, laminated card of Saint Jude she kept in her coat pocket. Its surface worn smooth at the corners from 2,000 mornings of handling and from countless quiet hours spent in the pews of the sanctuary of Saint Jude. Another negative, another notation in the file. Another drive home in which neither she nor her husband said the thing both of them were thinking. If you feel the particular ache of that particular silence, share this account with someone carrying the same weight. The ledger keeps its own kind of company. The clinical record accompanying this case, by the end of year 6, constituted, by any reasonable standard of reproductive medicine, an exhaustive documentation of foreclosure. The file opened with a baseline hormonal panel that returned the patient's follicle-stimulating hormone at 38 MIU/ml, more than 3 times the threshold associated with adequate ovarian reserve in a woman of 36. Her anti-Müllerian hormone registered at 0.1 nanograms per milliliter, a figure the attending endocrinologist's notes described, without euphemism, as consistent with severely diminished reserve. 4 stimulated IVF cycles had been completed across a period of 26 months. Of those 4, 2 produced no viable embryo for transfer. The remaining 2 each resulted in a single transfer, both of which failed to implant. A subsequent genetic consultation identified no inherited variants associated with implantation failure, which, as the specialist recorded in writing, effectively ruled out the most actionable explanatory pathway available. A laparoscopic procedure confirmed partial obstruction of the left fallopian tube, surgically corrected, after which the clinical team concluded that the correction itself offered limited prognosis improvement given the totality of the hormonal picture. The final specialist consultation, conducted by a senior reproductive endocrinologist with 22 years of practice, produced a single sentence entered into the case file. Natural conception is assessed to be extremely unlikely given the presenting clinical factors in their entirety. The family was referred for adoption consultation. If you have followed these accounts long enough to recognize the shape of this moment, leave a mark below. This channel exists to document what comes after statements like that one. Here is what the clinical record does not show you. It does not capture the way a physician's voice shifts when delivering a final prognosis, the measured flattening of cadence, the practiced absence of hesitation that communicates not deliberate cruelty, but something perhaps more permanent, the complete certainty of a trained professional who has learned to read accumulated data as though it were destiny. The record does not show you the assumption embedded quietly in every one of those discharge notes, that the human body operates on mechanisms already fully mapped, and that what falls outside those mechanisms falls outside the possible. That assumption deserves your careful attention tonight, not because the science practiced in those rooms was negligent. It was not, but because the history of medicine is precisely the history of documented anomalies that confounded the prevailing consensus until they could no longer be categorically dismissed. Every closed file carries within it an implicit claim. We have now reached the outer boundary of what is mechanistically explainable. A closed file, however, is not the same thing as a final verdict, and the distance between those two things is what this record is about to demonstrate. It is a heavy truth to witness a confident institution arrive at the outer edge of its own framework. The ledger has shown this before. The valley must sometimes be walked entirely before the other side becomes visible. This family kept walking. If the weight of this chronicle is finding its way into something you recognize tonight, take a moment and join us here. Subscribe to Miracle Ledger and help us continue to preserve these unexplainable accounts for the people who need hope the most. We keep these files open so that no one has to carry the unexplained weight of their situation alone. The nightly ritual had no ceremony to it by then. The house would settle into quiet around 9:30. The last light in the kitchen would go off. I would sit in the dark of the bedroom for a few minutes, holding the prayer card, and say the words, Not because I felt them moving anything in the room, not because I had accumulated evidence that they were working, but because 731 consecutive nights of asking had become the rhythm my hands remembered when they had nothing else to hold. Then, in the third week of November, 14 months after the specialist's final consultation, the cycle did not arrive on schedule. It came 11 days late. The clinic receptionist who ran the preliminary blood work called that same afternoon, and her voice carried a quality I had never once heard in that building. Uncertainty. She said she was going to flag the reading for the physician. She asked me not to read into it yet, but she asked me to come in the following morning. The FSH panel returned at 11.4 MIU/mL. The attending physician looked at the result. Then she looked at the full case file. Then she called a second clinician to review both. For those who carry the traditional faith, we know that an unexpected turn is never mere coincidence. It is the careful, quiet signature of intercession working through the ordinary material of days. They ran the panel a second time. The second result confirmed the first. What followed, over the subsequent 4 months, produced a documentation trail that the institution's own ethics committee would later characterize as procedurally unprecedented within the scope of this case. The FSH reduction from 38 MIU/mL to 11.4 MIU/mL, achieved without pharmacological intervention or hormonal protocol of any kind, was reviewed against the available clinical literature. The reviewing panel located no case series in their database documenting a spontaneous hormonal normalization of that magnitude in a patient with this prior diagnostic profile. The anti-Müllerian hormone reading, retested 6 weeks after the initial anomalous panel, registered at 0.8 ng/ml, still below the standard range, but no longer within the clinical category that had previously foreclosed all prognosis. Natural conception was confirmed 11 weeks after the November panel. The gestational ultrasound was conducted by the same senior reproductive endocrinologist who had entered the final assessment into the file 14 months prior. His clinical notes from that session contain the following notation: findings inconsistent with presenting clinical history. No mechanistic explanation identified at time of review. Further specialist consultation to be sought. That consultation was formally requested and completed. The reviewing panel's final report contained one sentence the institution has declined to expand upon in any subsequent professional correspondence. We have no pathophysiological account for the hormonal normalization observed in this patient's case. The ledger reminds us that human pride builds high walls, but grace, documented, witnessed, and without viable mechanical explanation, has always found the fracture. The record for this case is officially entered. The unexplained remains alive. If a closed medical file is part of what you are carrying, the extended case documentation timeline is available in the description below. The professionals who issued the original prognosis continue to practice. Their credentials remain unchanged. Their plaques still hang on office walls, and none of them, not one, has publicly revisited the language entered into that file. That is their institutional prerogative. These systems are not designed to process the category of evidence this case represents. They are designed to record what fits within known parameters. When something falls outside those parameters, the notation is precisely what it was here. No mechanistic explanation identified. But this is what you must hold on to. The absence of a mechanism is not the absence of a cause. Science does not assert that unexplained events do not occur. It acknowledges that they fall outside current explanatory frameworks. Those are not equivalent statements, and the distinction matters enormously when you are the one sitting in the waiting room holding the number. This family, the family that paid the fees, endured 4 cycles, received the surgical correction that changed little, and sat across from the specialist who wrote the final verdict, did not wait for institutional permission to believe that something outside the known framework had moved on their behalf. The 6 years were not a failure of faith. They were the documented perimeter of human capacity, and what lay beyond that perimeter is now registered in hospital records as an anomaly without mechanistic explanation. The ledger does not close on that. Human pride builds high walls. Grace finds the fracture. The record stands, and the unexplained remains a living entry. A resource for those who wish to share their own account is in the description. The ledger always keeps room for that. He was born in March of 2011. The attending notes from that delivery contain, once again, the most unassuming sentence in the entire file. Healthy term birth, no complications. A sentence that reads as ordinary to anyone who has never seen the 6 years preceding it, and as something close to sacred to anyone who has. His parents set the worn prayer card of Saint Jude on the shelf in the nursery. No ceremony, no announcement. The way you set down something that has been in your hands for a very long time, and that you are now, finally, permitted to rest. The shift that settled into the household after that, the particular quality of quiet that arrives when something long and anxious has fully resolved, is the kind that cannot be entered into any clinical file. The small, adjusted gestures of ordinary life, the way a morning carries a different weight when there is a reason to be present in it. It is a heavy truth to accompany a family that was told, formally and repeatedly, that the door was permanently closed, and to hold the documented proof that it was not. The ledger teaches us that the valley must sometimes be walked all the way through before the light on the far side becomes legible. But here is what the ledger did not know to write 15 years ago. The detail that no specialist's chart could have predicted, and that no ethics committee could have entered as a notation. That boy, born in March of 2011, whose very existence the institution classified as without mechanistic explanation, now stands at the altar of the sanctuary of Saint Jude every Sunday morning and plays music at Mass at the same sanctuary, at the same altar where his parents once knelt and asked, in the silence of what felt like a permanently closed case, for intercession from the patron of hopeless cases. This account is witnessed. It is documented. And for anyone who doubts, the timeline exists. If there is a weight in your own life that you have been carrying in private, bring it to the comments below. Do not carry it alone. If you have not yet joined this circle, subscribe. The next file is already waiting to be unsealed. We will see you in the ledger.